Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second segment of today's episode, where we speak to Elizabeth and Jamie from the Huski Tri team. Elizabeth, Jamie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Would you like to start by introducing yourselves?
Sure. I'm Elizabeth. I am a senior at UW studying, or I'm majoring in molecular and cellular biology, and I'm minoring in music.
Yeah, I'm Jamie. I'm a third year here, and I am the safety officer. Elizabeth's the president, our fearless
Just say
president.
that.
And I'm studying environmental science and earth and space science with a focus in biology.
Excellent, excellent. So, what's your history with the triathlon sport?
I always grew up running. I started running, like for middle school cross country, and I did that all the way through high school. Um, with injury, sometimes at the end of high school, I got like an injury, and I took up swimming as cross training. And then when the pandemic happened in 2020, I could no longer swim as cross training, so I decided, I've got a bike, I can just try that. And so that's how I got kind of into cycling, I guess. And then eventually I kind of realized, oh, like I can do all three of these things. Why don't I just do a triathlon? And that's kind of very organic, soft launch into it.
Interesting. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I was also at home during COVID, and I was like grappling with dealing with like aging out of competitive soccer, which is what I'd done since I was 5. Um, but I certainly was not good enough to play in college. But I spent the summer watching the Olympics, and I was like, dang, that's kind of cool. And so I watched like all of the races, and then I was like, I can bike, I have run, I have not drowned while swimming. Might as well give it a go. So that's how I started.
Well, for listeners out there, that's all it takes. Don't drown while swimming.
Yeah.
Know how to bike and run, and that's all the qualifications you need. So interesting. So have you done any races already?
Well, I've done races in previous years. We're still very early in our season. I'd say racing is usually between like May and September, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did 3 races last year, but only 2 of them showed up because rough swim on one, I got disqualified, so that kind of sucks.
Got
But
DQ'd for what?
well, there's an upriver swim, but the current was super strong, and they had us swimming in the middle of the river where it was like super, super strong, and like you're not getting any help from like being closer to the shore, and like I was literally going backwards in the water, and they said like and also it was like a really strong current that day, just in for whatever reason. So the race volunteers, like halfway through the swim, were like, "Hey, like if you need to pull out now, like you can still continue to." The race director said you can go continue to the bike and run and still finish the race. Just give them your bib number when you get out of the water. And I didn't see anyone when I got out of the water to give my bib number to, because I literally could not keep swimming at that point. So I just told them at the end. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're like disqualified."
Oh
And I
man.
was like, "Bruh, are you kidding me?" So,
Why would they organize an upriver swim?
you know,
That seems like the number one
well,
problem.
the
Yeah.
year I did it before, you're swimming close to the shores on the way up, so that the current isn't as bad. But yeah,
I think that's still questionable.
yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah. What about you? What about your racing history?
Yeah, I've only done one. I've done a couple of like 5Ks, like the UW hosted like Dog Dash and stuff. But I've done one triathlon. I did it 2 summers ago, in Boulder, which is where I'm from in Colorado. And it was really fun. I trained for it like through the first year with the team, and then I signed up for it in January, and then like freaked myself out because we didn't have a pool at that point. And so I hadn't swum like at all, and I was like, this is how I die. Like this is it, guys. And then I signed up for the race. I was like, well, I guess I can't drown now. So then I started. We did like 2 open water swims in the spring, and then I went back to Colorado, and I used my friend's like pool pass that they weren't using, and I swam before work every day, and then did the race. And actually, my family who was there supporting me totally missed me coming out of the water because I went like 7 minutes faster than I had anticipated. To be fair, I said I was going to do it in like 30 minutes, which like for 750 yards, like I probably could have gone faster than that. And I did. But yeah, it was a good race. Lost my inhaler on the bike.
Oops.
Turns out albuterol doesn't do anything for me anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it was a great race. Couldn't do one last summer because of scheduling, but we're starting race season now, so that's very exciting. And I'm signed up for the Olympic distance for Best in the West. Elizabeth is too, but before then you have nationals this week,
Right.
which I'm very excited for you guys to go.
Ooh, yeah.
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 Jeron spoke about it earlier as well. So yeah, what are you looking forward to there?
Let's see. I guess I've got I'm looking forward to I guess being in California. I really haven't spent much time in California. That'll be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Not really looking forward to the drive down. That's going to be pretty brutal. But yeah, I think just being in California and being in a new setting and racing there. I'm doing that one, and I'm also doing the Ironman 70.3 in Victoria.
Wow.
And I would say I'm looking forward to that one more, I think, than the nationals, just because I tend to like the longer distances a little bit better.
You also crush the longer distances. Not that
I think-
you don't crush the short distances, but like unmatched on longer distances.
I think that, thank you, Jamie. That's where my strengths lie. But I'm really excited as this is like kind of like a little like pre-game for like
It's like prep.
the main race. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So which one's your strongest discipline of the three legs of the sport?
Definitely running. I have the most experience running. And I think I'm really grateful for that, because not that my runs off the bike are like as fast as I can run when I just run, but like I'm already really tired, so having a really strong background in running makes it so that the end of the race doesn't feel like maybe as terrible as it would otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what about you? Like, which leg do you like?
Oh, they're all so mediocrely. Like, they're all like, yeah.
But like favorite, like what's the vibes?
No, I do enjoy a good bike. Running is just uncomfortable. Swimming, I'm enjoying swimming now that I'm not like afraid of drowning every time. It's like actually kind of like no thoughts, head empty, flip, go. I can't keep track of how far I've gone because I forget immediately, but
That's why you
that's
have a
okay.
watch.
Yes, and I did fix my watch. Earlier in the season, it kept recording like 2 to 3 times the distances. So I was setting like PRs like every single time I left the wall. And that was egregious because I was not. And now like Strava like has set like my longest swim is like 4,000 yards. And let me tell you, that is not my farthest distance. It's like half of that. So now I have a ways to go until I can actually break that for real. But it'll be okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So one of the things we celebrate on the show is, the hard work and grit that it takes to actually overcome some of the difficulties of doing a sport. And like you mentioned, started off swimming, worried about drowning. I mean, was that a real thing, or was that hyperbole, or how did you overcome it?
Oh, I was fully concerned about drowning. I was like, oh gosh. I'm very asthmatic. And so the whole like breathe every 4 strokes was just simply not possible for me. I was breathing every single stroke. And I get really bad like lactic acid buildups in like all of my limbs because there just isn't oxygen getting there fast enough. And so I was like fully concerned about drowning. And then I remember I did this one swim like 2 weeks before my race. And my mentality before this swim had been like, there's safety kayaks, just swim from one kayak to the other kayak and it'll be okay. Then I did this one swim, and I just like, I guess part of doing these sports is making it adaptable for yourself. Like there isn't like one set golden rule for any of the 3 disciplines. Like you do it how you do it, and you don't have to do it how anyone else does it. So I swam my first race breathing on both sides every time my arm went up, because like that was how I was gonna get through it. And now with more practice, I like breathe like a normal person swimming. But yeah, it's just, you take it as you can and you just adapt to what you have to do to get through it. And I think that's one of the beautiful parts about the sport, is just finding how you yourself can grapple with the challenges you set.
Yep, absolutely. And did anybody tell you shouldn't do it?
Oh, my swim coach because I say my swim coach, the person who taught me how to swim when I was in 5th grade, is part of my mom's book club. And so I saw her before I was doing the race, and I mentioned like my breathing strategy, and she was like, that's certainly one way to approach it. But I was like, oh, it's gonna get the job done, so it's fine. And she agreed with me, and then she was there to cheer me on at the race. So it was pretty fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, kudos to, making it work for you. whatever can get you through, right? I think
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's the strategy at the end of the day. Just cross
Yeah.
the line in whatever way possible. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Elizabeth? Which leg? I mean, so you said that you like the run. What about the other two? Is there any leg that you don't like as much?
I guess I like all of them. I would say probably my least favorite is swimming, just because the start is a little bit like scary sometimes. Like getting kicked in the head or like getting kind of boxed in. I always like just start out like my swim time is usually not very good. So I think for me it's just like for swimming it's like just remembering that safety is the first priority, like
Mhm.
and just to go at my own pace until like it's kind of clear and then just go for it, as opposed to trying to get out ahead and then like getting kicked around.
Or swum over top of.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
horrifying.
terrifying.
Yeah, it's funny. I just saw on our triathlon group somebody shared a video, which is you practice swimming, you're going alone and you're taking one stroke at a time, and it looks really beautiful and all put together. But it actually feels like, and they have a guy who's swimming and there's people on kayaks hitting him with the paddles.
I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
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 Someone like overdubbed it like as an advertisement for
Yeah.
the cliff or something. It was so funny.
Yeah, but that's actually what it feels like. I mean, I was intimidated the first time I did my try, and I was again in the slowest section of the race. So even in that section, it was pretty crowded, and takes some getting used to if it's your first time, swimming in a crowd, and people trying to like swim over you and stuff like you said. So interesting.
Yeah.
So let's get into the training aspect of it. How often do you train, and how do you keep yourself motivated to keep training?
Yeah, I train usually about like 6 days a week. So we have like, I guess our club practice schedule is we have 4 practices a week. We do like a spin class, and then a swim practice, and then a long ride on the weekends, and then track practice. Those are our 4 club practices. So I'll usually make it to about 3 or all of those, depending on like what I've got going on that week. And then most of my training like outside of that is like strength training, running. I don't really like to bike by myself just because of safety. So I guess most of the extra training that I do is just extra running volume for my own like running goals outside
Got
of
it.
triathlon.
Got it.
Yeah, it's about like I do the 4 workouts we have a week, and then I do strength training on my own, and then I do a lot of stuff for marching band. That's like cardio and muscles, and I go climbing once a week, which is just
Oh wow.
for
Okay.
fun.
That's interesting. Where do you climb?
UW has at the gym they have a indoor climbing wall.
That's pretty cool.
It's called Crags. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah, I've been very interested in trying climbing, but yeah.
There's so much overlap between like triathlon and climbing.
Oh yeah.
No, the people who
ye-
do triathlon are the same people who do climbing.
Yes,
The
I've
same
noticed
people who
that.
live in vans, and the same people who like wear chacos. It's all a circle.
Yeah,
Interesting.
circle
Interesting.
cannot be unbroken.
You can't.
So one of the things that came up in the earlier segment with Jeron and Noah was your contribution to making training interesting around the movie themed bike ride. So take us through that. What gave you that idea?
Oh, they're so fun. Yeah, I like take movie soundtracks and then I build a spin workout through like with the plot of the movie. And then I'll put slides up behind me like detailing like what we're doing for the song. And also like just like a scene that's happening. Um, and that was like my own little because I just wanted to do it. Because I was like, oh, I just love Lord of the Rings so much. Like, I want to bike to Lord of the Rings. And then I was like, but no one else wants to bike to Lord of the Rings. And then I was like, well, what if I condense all 3 movies into 45-minute spin class? And then it turns out that if you choose the right movie, it can actually form a really, really good workout. Like, in the Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of hills to climb, a lot of battles to fight, which then in turn is like high resistance biking and sprints. So then I've done Lord of the Rings, and I did How to Train Your Dragon and Lion King last quarter. And they've been fun. I've enjoyed them a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it as much fun for you doing it along, or?
Oh yeah, Jamie is a very good narrator. Whenever it's a Jamie spin, I'm like, yes. The Lord of the Rings was just so charismatic. I loved it.
Interesting.
I have a deep, deep love for Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I do too. I was just I was glad that there was someone out there that like shares that same
Yeah.
passion as me.
And also, I like have to thank the rest of the team for putting up with my shenanigans. I'm not sure another group would be quite as willing to humor me, but it makes my life better.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is actually a good segue into the community aspect of it. So, how do you guys keep each other going? What's the community been like for you? Maybe Elizabeth first.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about like triathlon specifically, but everyone in our club is just so wonderful and nice, and everyone is super willing to help each other out. I think triathlon is super unique in that having three disciplines. You obviously have people that are stronger each one. Like I'm a really good runner, but our sponsorship coordinator Evelyn is like a really good swimmer. So I think having people that are stronger in different areas to be able to help out and give advice kind of like helps us form team bonds. Yeah, and everyone's just like really wonderful, like not only like in practices but outside of practices. Like the other week we hung out after swim practice and just had a picnic and like played hacky sack in front of the IMA for like half an hour. So it's just really nice to have people that not only want to spend time with you like or that are not only like there for you during like practices, but are also want to like spend time with you as a friend outside of.
Yeah.
And I'm still in contact with a lot of people that have graduated and stuff. So those friendships are like lasting, which is really cool.
Cool. And what about you? How's the community play a role for you?
Oh, it's awesome. It's like there's just so much to be said for friendships that are bound together through joint mutual suffering. Like nothing binds you quite as much as like a really rainy ride. Like
Yeah, I'd agree.
it's like those friendships, they're just like such giggly, fun friendships that form through joint suffering, but they're also so strong.
I mean, one of Drew from last year, he said, "Who needs therapy when you can bike in the rain?" So I think you have
Exactly,
something.
yeah. And it's just like such a fun group of people. Like we all like everyone is always cheering for you, like no matter what. Like that's something so beautiful about it. Like other than just training alone, is you know that there's always people in your corner who will show up for you every day, just like you show up for them.
Mm-hmm.
And another aspect of our group that's so fun is like you could post in there literally anything. Like, oh, I have this concert that I'm performing at. Oh, I'm presenting my research this day. Oh, come visit me at work or whatever. And like, we'll all show up. And it's so fun that we have that support for each other even outside of practices.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth is really exceptional flute player, and one of my favorite things to do is for her recitals and her concerts is we all just go, and it's so fun to just see each other outside of like running, biking, and swimming, but also to support each other in the other aspects of our lives that make us who we are.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think thanks for the shout out there.
Oh, you're
yeah,
really
like 10
good.
people from the triathlon club showed up to my senior recital. It was great. Yeah, but I think everyone also like I think part of this a really cool aspect of this being like a college group in particular is that everyone's from like different majors, and there is some overlaps. People are helping each other out with classes and other stuff too, so
Sharing chemistry textbooks.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, we're really just there for each other, I think, in a lot of ways outside of the
Oh,
sport.
fantastic. So this is like a common interest, but there are other things to do and bond
Yeah.
over. So
It's
Totally.
like triathlon is like it's like the thing that binds us together, but it is not like the full extent of our friendship, and I think that's really awesome.
And I think part of that is that we have team socials. We usually have 2 every quarter, and those are just things that we like weekend get-togethers where we just hang out and do stuff. Like we've done pumpkin carving and tie-dye and like picnics and just like trivia.
PowerPoint nights.
Yeah,
Those are
PowerPoint
funny.
nights.
that doesn't sound like fun. PowerPoint night?
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh my
You can
gosh.
present on whatever you want.
Yeah, everyone just makes a really silly PowerPoint about whatever they want and then presents it. I mean, mine was kind of goofy. I just took a list of 10 random things and presented whether or not I thought that they were a soup or a sandwich. So it's just goofy things like that.
I presented about like what to wipe with if you're caught out on a long run. That was funny.
Interesting. Well, so I think, I'm way older than you all, so PowerPoint will change its meaning in your life after you start work.
Oh, I'm sure in the corporate world it's
Yeah.
horrifying. Among friends it's divine.
Yes, I agree with you.
Nice. Cool. So, I mean, if you look at your participation in the club over the years, does anything stand out as particularly something that's memorable for you or you're happy about that you've achieved? Anything to call out?
Mm, I don't think there's anything like in particular that's like, oh, this is really big for me, or this is such a big memory for me. It's just all the little moments kind of add up. Whether that be like getting coffee after rides, or just a really fun social, or just all these like little goofy inside jokes that we come up with on like 2 or 3 hour long rides.
The rain scale.
The rain scale.
The rain scale. That sounds
We have
interesting.
a rain scale. It is an ever-changing scale, like that we rate the rain on. Like, oh, it's drizzling. It's micro-pipetting. It's deluging.
I think it's still up for debate whether a deluge is above cats and dogs.
Yeah, we're still working on that one.
Yeah.
It's never been written down, so every time we have to reconvene about it.
It's an oral tradition.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Written in the comments of Strava.
Yeah.
So Strava has some interesting.
Our club, I think our club needs to be sponsored by Strava because we single-handedly uphold that platform.
Single-handedly.
Shout out to Strava. We have potential sponsorship opportunity here.
Yeah, Strava, if you want to sponsor me, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Interesting. So looking ahead in the year, what does a successful year look like this time for you?
Like success in what aspect, I guess?
In the sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, ideally, I would PR in my I would improve on my Olympic time. Although it's kind of hard because I've been racing now for like this will be my 3rd year of racing. And so the race that I've done the past 2 years, they changed the weekend and it's on graduation and I can't go anymore. So it'll be kind of hard to compare, I guess, that way. My like Olympic time, but hopefully my 70.3 time is better. Just because I know a little bit more now, like what I'm doing, especially with like eating during the race, which that was kind of a struggle last time. So
Interesting. So yeah, what's the main aspect you think you'll need to focus on to improve your PR?
I would say I'm pretty good at the transition. And I think I think actually during the run, my bike was really consistent last year at the 70.3 Washington. And so on my run, I was happy with my overall pace. However, I started out like kind of conservative, and then at the halfway point I was like, oh, I feel really, really, really good. And then I increased speed for a while, and then I just totally crashed like the last 3 miles. And I think that was also like when I decided that I didn't want to eat anything else because I didn't feel very good. So I think this time around, I'm going to focus on making my pace more consistent throughout the run. So if I feel good, not like at the halfway point, not going so much more faster, maybe just a little bit more so that I don't crash and burn.
Yeah.
And also even like I stopped eating at like mile 10 of the run because I was like, if I eat something else, I might throw up. I don't know. But I think I felt worse for not doing that. So maybe just like actually practicing the nutrition a little bit more instead of just like winging it the day of, which I know everyone says to practice, but I don't listen.
Interesting. So this was Maple Valley.
Yeah.
Oh, I was volunteering at the first bike station there. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really beautiful one. I'm so sad they changed it to Tri-Cities. I was like, I'm sorry. Like Maple Valley just seems more fun.
Yeah.
More shady.
Probably. And yeah, what about you, Jamie? What does a successful triathlon year look like for you?
Yeah, well, I'm doing my first Olympic distance at Best in the West, so I'm very excited for that. Once again, my goal, since we've upped the swimming distance, is not to drown. I think I'll be fine, though, because we did at practice yesterday. I did swim the full distance, and I didn't drown.
Fantastic.
So, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Additionally, I'd love to get better at running, which I say all the time. But I've also recently just gotten, as in like an hour ago, gotten inhalers. So hopefully now that'll be fixed. And I've also I went to a doctor for my asthma last spring. And they gave me these breathing exercises to do while running that physics tricks my esophagus into opening better. And I can only really implement it in the run section, and so I'm trying to figure out how to implement it in the swim section. But it's called biphasic breathing, and it's kind of fun, very cool.
Wow.
In spin, Evelyn will be like, "Are you doing your breathing?" Because it's the most loud thing ever. She'll be like, "Are you breathing over there?" And I'm like, "I am, thank you. It's awesome." So yeah, I'm hoping to get a better run, and I'm hoping the inhalers and the breathing techniques make my run more enjoyable, because that's really where I get kicked by the lack of lung function. Yeah, I've never done a race that long, so maybe I should talk to somebody about how to fuel for it. So I don't know, but I think it'll just be fun. I'm really just going out there to have fun and finish it and not drown and like be smiling by the end of it. So
I'm sure you'll get there.
I think it'll be good.
That's the spirit. I mean, you spoke a bit about how you fun things you do when you're training. Anything else that stands out in terms of how you make training more interesting? Because it can be pretty boring to go on these, regular workouts 6 days a week. So what do you guys do to make it fun?
I think for me, what's having or at our team practices, having people there is really nice. Like for the long rides, I mean, you're not going that aerobically challenging, so you can just chat with people or have friends. I think so. I think people for our team practices, and then for spin, like having the different themes is really fun. Or like sometimes we'll implement partner workouts. After the Super Bowl, we did one that was like a Taylor Swift and Usher playlist, and so one person was Usher, one person was Taylor Swift, and then every other one you just switched off. And
That was so fun.
yeah, that was a really fun one.
Because then you get to cheer for your partner the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also done like mock relays in the spin room. And that's just really fun because you get to cheer. Like half the time you're riding and the other half you're screaming.
Yeah.
Like, "You got this. Go, go, go. Push hard."
So I'd say like training buddies are really effective. But sometimes people aren't available or you have to go at a weird hour because of work or school or whatever. So for those, I'm a big fan of music. Not on the bike. PSA, do not listen to music on the bike. I know people do. Do not recommend.
That's where you get to showcase your really terrible singing skills to yourself.
Yeah. But for running, I do like to, for long runs, I'll put on an album. This morning I did a long run and I put on Cowboy Carter. Yeah, it was great.
Nice.
So yeah, I think I'm very motivated by music. Some people really like podcasts. It'd be cool if someone's running to this podcast.
Yeah, maybe somebody's going to run to this podcast.
I will run to this podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't because I have to listen to my own voice and that sounds terrible. But maybe I'll just skip my sections and listen to you.
You sound great. Interesting. So now y'all are the experienced crew here, and I'd asked this to the guys before this as well, but I'd love to hear from you too. What words of wisdom can you share with people who might be considering the sport, feeling a bit intimidated, might have some physical challenges? What words can you share for them?
Do you want to go first, Jamie?
Oh my gosh, sure. Just kind of like what I said earlier about like making the sport adaptable to yourself, I think is really important because the really beautiful thing about triathlon is like the only measure you're measuring against is yourself and like what you did yesterday and the year before. So I think it's really empowering, I guess, in the way that like you don't have to compare yourself to others if you don't want to, and the only measurement you really have to care about is how you were compared to yesterday. And you can take the sport on in any way you want to. Like if you don't want to run, you can do like, does it duathlon? That's just
or that's
no, it's the other one.
Aquabike.
Aquabike.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the sport is so adaptable to whatever you want it to be. So like it doesn't. I know that a lot of people like think that like endurance sports are just like a suffer fest and it's like type 2 fun or whatever, but you can make it fun just by doing what you enjoy doing. And you don't have to suffer through workouts if you find good people to work out with. And there's just like so much of like listening to your body and seeing what works for you and what's fun for you. Like don't keep doing what you don't like doing. Like find ways to make it fun and make it interesting. And like this sport is so adaptable to your own needs and you can be adaptable to your own needs. And there's a lot to be said about like having grit and determination and like going after your own goals. But like the reason we do this is to have fun. And so if you're not having fun, make a change. And so you are having fun. Yeah. And I think like the reason this sport has brought us all together is because we enjoy doing it together. And I think the community aspect is really what makes it interesting. So lean into the people who you surround yourself with, and it's great. And like, there's nothing to not like hold you back from that. It's good.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess I would say that like the hardest distance you're ever going to race is the 8 inches between like your temples. So I think it's like definitely like a mental game. And finding ways to make it fun is just super important. I guess in my experience, I've always found that I'm capable of way more than I think I am. So a lot of it, I think, is just overcoming that like mental thing of like, oh, this is such a long distance, or like this is like so crazy long, or whatever it happens to be, and just breaking it up into small chunks. I think for me, like I'm very left-brained, so think breaking like a race up into like, okay, I get now I just have to I do the swim, and then thinking about it separately. Now I just do the bike, and then thinking about it separately, the run. Like then you can break it up into like 2 mile segments. Okay, I'm done with that one. Now I have two more, whatever it is. So I think finding different mental ways to like take on that load of like if you a several hour long race is really important. And I guess I would say like words of wisdom is just to like become a student of the sport, which sounds kind of like silly, but like just try and learn as much as you can. Like ask questions to more experienced people that have done it a lot before. Like I have learned a lot of what I know through other people and just by asking. And I've never met someone that is like, I'm not going to answer that. Like I don't think people gatekeep in the tri community. Like everyone's very nice and just super willing to like help you out. Like at a race, this guy offered me a race belt for free. He was like, "Oh, well, you don't have to safety pin. I have an extra race belt." And it's just like that. Those kinds of like acts of kindness make it. I've never been afraid to ask anyone questions, I guess.
Yeah, I've definitely found tri to be a very fun sport. I think it's just a community sport more so than a competitive sport. I feel I think it definitely comes through, and
it's just kind of goofy. Like I think it's just the concept of like swim, bike, run. Like do it. Like, it's just goofy, and I think it attracts somewhat goofy people.
Yeah, like always goes back to that, like as like the sport inherently isn't competing against others, it's competing against yourself, and everyone wants to help you all like be better versions of like what you were. And so I think the community is just such a positive one, that it's always looking to help and uplift each other. And I just think that's so awesome.
Cool. Well, great words, and this was super fun chatting with you all. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I think on that note, we can end this segment as well. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. This is very fun.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming to our indoor tri.
Of course. Awesome.
Do it again next year.
Yeah.
Yes.